Hello, you're welcome to this lecture. In this session, which is session 2 of Unit 3, we are looking at the knowledge of client business as part of audit planning and documentation, which the whole of Unit 3 is talking about. Session 2, knowledge of client business. At the end of this session, the objective that must be achieved are you should be able to detail out the information about the client that should be known to the auditor before the actual audit work starts. So what are the kind of information that the auditor must know about the client before he actually starts the audit? Now, what should be known about the client? Prior to an acceptance of an engagement, the auditors should obtain preliminary knowledge of the industry and ownership, the management and operations of the prospective client, and sufficient to enable them consider their ability and then the willingness to undertake the audit. So the auditors must perform this preliminary knowledge or obtain this preliminary knowledge about that. Now, following acceptance, the auditor should obtain a further and a more detailed knowledge about the client. So after acceptance, there must be a detailed knowledge which should be in the known of the auditor. And the kind of information that should be known is the general economic factors and the industry conditions in which the client operates. I have to look at the characteristics of the entity, its business, financial performance, and then the reporting framework. Then you also have to know the competence of management. How competent is management and how can you rely on their information provided when you are conducting on the audit. Then you look out for the accounting policies adopted by the entity. They serve as the basis on which you are going to analyze some of the transactions. Then you look at the regulatory framework for the entity, the accounting policies and co. What kind of regulatory framework can we find them? And then you look out for the industry as a whole. What are the rules, regulation guiding that particular industry and then the firm? So these are some of the information that should be known to the auditor about the client. Now, this information that needs to be known, where do you get them from? Where do the auditor get them from? The auditor gets some of this information from previous experience with the industry. So maybe he has audited a client who is in the same industry before. Then he has to also obtain this information through discussion with the people in the entity. So there are some other people who are related who conduct business with the entity. It can be employees and co. So you obtain some of this information from them. Then you can also have a discussion with the internal audit personnel and review of the internal audit report. So you are going to be in touch with the internal auditor if the entity is having one, and then any other internal audit report that is available. Then you obtain certain information from it. You can as well discuss with the auditors and with the legal and other advisors. So the external auditor of the company who is retiring, who is going, you can also discuss and get certain information based on the approval of the client. You can also consult the legal advisors of the clients and obtain these informations as well. Then you can as well visit the entity's premises to observe for yourself what is going on. Then any documents that has been produced by the entity serve as a source of knowledge as well. So you can, if you chance on those documents, you can make use of them and gathering some knowledge about the entity. Then the industry as a whole, what are some of the specific guidance relating to that particular industry? Then you relate that to the entities which become your client that you are going to perform the audit on. Now, the knowledge that you have acquired, how then do you use the knowledge? Now, understanding the business, and using this information appropriately assist the auditor in assessing the risks and identifying problems. So if you are able to uh, gather knowledge about the entity, what they are into, that will enable you to assess the kind of risks and then identify problems about the client. And that information will also help you in planning and performing the audit effectively and efficiently, because you have prior knowledge what the industry or the entity is made up of. That will inform how you are going to approach the audit and how effective and efficiently you are going to be. It also helps in the evaluation of the audit evidence. So one other information we need to know is that the competence of management, and if management is providing you with certain evidence based on the knowledge, on the competence, that will inform how you are going to evaluate this audit evidence that is being produced. Now, matters to consider in relation to knowledge of the business. What are the things that you need to consider? Now, knowledge of the client's business become very useful to the auditors if it is made known to the audit team members. So if you have any knowledge about the client, that knowledge will be useful only if it has been disclosed to the various audit uh, members. So we have knowledge about all the matters to consider is the general economic factors about the entity and in the industry in which it operates. You look at the industry conditions affecting the client's business, each industry and the kind of conditions that affect them. With the general economic factors, we are looking at the economy as a whole. What are some indicators? What are some factors that you need to consider? Then we look at the entity's business as well. And with the entity's business, you are looking at the product that the entity produces or the service they render. You're looking at the market in which those products and services are sent. You look at the suppliers and then the expenses and other operations about the entity. You consider all this one. Then you also look at the financial performance of the entity. How well is the entity performing? And as well, the reporting environment of the entity must as well be considered. And these are matters that needs to be considered in relation to the knowledge about the client's business before you proceed. And understanding of this will help you to assess the risks and how best to identify the problem and how to approach the audit and perform it in an effective and efficient manner. So in summary, we've been able to look at the knowledge of the client's business, the importance of that knowledge, and how to get the knowledge of the client's business. And after getting the knowledge, this knowledge must be made available to the engagement team, whether it will influence or to inform them how to handle certain issues during the audit process. Thank you and see you in the next session.